In this short tutorial, we're going to create a simple glass shader. And I've taken the setup for the glass shader from a really useful online gentleman by the name of Ryan King Art. I thoroughly recommend you have a look at his website. He's got a lot of free stuff and paid stuff as well. His YouTube channel is excellent, lots of basic stuff and more advanced. And I've downloaded this, so I'll show you how to add it in as well, although we'll create it from scratch. But this is the sort of thing you see we'll end up with like here. So I'll just move that out of the way. And this is my standard Blender startup file. So I'm going to leave the figure, the low poly figure, as a reference. And I'll do Shift A, Mesh, and I'll go up to Plane, S20, and Return. Don't forget, I'll just undo that. When you do things, S20, for example, if I left click, that accepts it. It's like a return. I'll undo that, S20. If I right mouse click, that's a cancel. So I'll do S20, return, and I'll do Shift A, and in this case, I'll do a cube. And the cube in Blender comes in as 2 units long, wide, and deep. And so I'll do GZ1, enter, and SY, make it thinner, and GX to move. So this is the basic setup. I will do a quick save. So I'll call this simple glass shader. And I've scaled this up and shrunk this down. So let me go, I press the N key, go to item, and if you notice the scale is not all one. So what's happening here is Blender knows I've changed it from its original size. And this can sometimes cause weird sort of texturing, etc. So once I've resized something, I'll do Control A, scale, see, and all the numbers are 1. And I'll right mouse click on the ground plane, see the scales are 20. So Control A, so it means apply, saying this is the new number 1 size, 1 width, length. Well, there's no height, but you get the idea. That's fine. N to get rid of that. And I will right mouse click on my glass, which is will end up as a sort of glass thick pane. So I will go to my materials tab on the right, click on new, and then it'll come up with the new Principled BSDF shader. So all the options are here, and I'll call this simple underscore glass, return. And I'm going to now go to the material preview, and we're not seeing much, but let me change the color just to have a look. You can see that's working, but I'm also in perspective, which is fine, but I've also got an HDRI up, which is not showing, and you won't see that until I go to my rendered view. Now it's loading up. There we go. Now, if you're not in rendered view, you won't see it. And if you're not in perspective, like orthographic, so if I do number keypad 5, you see it doesn't understand, and I get this sort of flashing colors. So number keypad 5, make sure you're in perspective. And don't forget as well, if you haven't got a number keypad, you can always go to the view menu, and we've got viewpoint here, navigation, etc. So they're all here, camera view, and so on and so forth. So the colors are changing. So I'm going to go now to shaders. Now I've got a lot of workspaces here. These are custom workspaces, but you should have shaders. I'll click on shaders. And again, it's a new setup. So I will click on rendered. There we go. And I'm going to zoom in. So control, and I stroke my mouse or use the scroll wheel. And let's change this now. So I will increase the transmission to 1. And something's happening. Let's go up. It's the roughness we need to get rid of. And bang, you see now we have sort of a glass. It's a reflection. But let's move my reference figure, G, Shift Z, to move in any direction apart from Z. And double tap A. And it's not a proper glass material. It's not showing. Okay, it's not transmitting things through. So let's do a quick save. Whilst I'm here, let's go up. I'm in the render tab here. I'm in Eevee, and because it's a bit faster. The cycles tab is slower, but it gives you more photoreal results. And what I need to do is I need to enable screen space reflections and refraction. We're still not finished yet. I will click on the cube again, and now we need to mix this with something else. Move this out of the way. Now, what we're mixing it with, this is what we're going to do, and we can get it from the blend file that we downloaded from Ryan King Art. But we're mixing the principal BSDF, the transmission up, roughness down, with a transparent BSDF through this mixer. And we're going to apply a Fresnel effect, which is basically going to change the refraction depending on our viewing angle. And we add a color ramp to sort of adjust that. So, Shift A, shader, and we want the transparent BSDF. I'm going to control and right mouse drag, that cuts that. I need to mix these two together. Shift A, shader, mix shader. Move these out of the way. And I will drag that into the top, that into the bottom. The factor is a mask. And if I drag it one way, I'll get all of one. If I drag it the other, I'll get all of the other. But let's put that into surface. And you can see it's still not we're not getting a proper result yet. And now we want the Fresnel effect. So Shift A, input Fresnel. Now, if you forget where they are, because there are quite a few here, you can just do Shift A, search, and type in Fresnel. And it is Fresnel, the S is silent. There we go. And I put that into the factor. This is going to be our mask. And now we're still not seeing it. Let's see what we've got. Ah, yes. So something else we have to do. I go to the material and I go to, let's have a look, settings. Here we go, the blend mode. I change the blend mode from opaque to say alpha hashed. And there we go. Now it works quite nicely. Now you see the red speckles. I've got I think it's an issue with my old machine and my graphics card. If I go to the render properties now and change it to cycles, I will get a much better result, but slower. It renders fine in either, but there you go. You see no red speckles, but now it's going through different passes to show me a nicer view and a nicer view and a nicer view. So I can leave it at that, but I'll go back to Eevee so it's a bit faster. So if I take off screen space reflections, see no difference. If I go to the material and change it to opaque, which is on by default, you see no difference. So, well, a big difference rather, I should say. So hashed, it's fine. And let's go back to the rendering and put that on just to, makes it a little bit better. Go back here. And indeed, if I wanted to, let's just bypass all of this and we'll go back to the principal BSDF. You can see by itself, there is no transmission, even though the transmission is up. Let's cut that. And let's cut that. And you can see the difference the Fresnel makes. Let's set that back to cycles. We'll wait for it to come up. There we go. So it does work without the Fresnel, but the Fresnel will give you a better, sort of more realistic result. So I'll drag that back in. I'll do a quick save. I'll leave it on cycles for the moment, and I'll press on my machine F12. See, there's no camera, so I'll go back to modeling. I'll wait for my computer to catch up. Here we go. In fact, let's go to the solid view and Shift A, camera. Go to the side view, G, move it up, 0. This is number keypad 0, and Shift tilde, and I can use the W, A, and S and D keys, and Q and E. There we go. Boom. I'm happy with that. We've got a camera. Let's go back to rendered view. There we go. Do a quick save. And for me, it's F12, but if you're on a laptop where the F keys haven't been changed to be normal F keys, but they're the shortcuts, you can go to render and render image. Now, it might take a minute or two on my machine. And it will get there. There we go. And it's not finished rendering yet. It's going to go through different passes. So remember, the Cycles render engine gives you more photorealistic results, but it takes a bit longer. Certainly on my machine, it does. So I'm going to close that down. I'll wait for it to cancel. Go back here, go to Eevee, and in my viewport it looks a bit odd, but you can see the sort of the red speckles. And I will do F12. And there you go. You see, that's a much quicker result, you see, so we can see a better idea. And this is how you do a simple glass shader. Now, you can, of course, just import from Ryan King Art's shader or any other shader at the end of the day. And in this case, it will be exactly the same. And all you have to do is File, Append, find the blend file, double click on it. And it's a shader with material, so double click on material. And in this case, it's the Eevee glass shader. Double click on that. And it looks like nothing has happened, but it's been imported. So if I go to my object, select it, go to my materials tab on the right. If I click on the drop down, you see, here we go. See, here are the two now. And 0 means nothing is using it. So if I click on it, it will now swap. And then I can click on the other one, and the other one has a 0 saying no object is using this. Be aware, you can import, you can append as many as you like, but when you save the file and quit Blender, anything with a 0 will get deleted because it's not being used to save memory. And if I go to the shader area, and here we go, and let's go where we're on Eevee, let's go to the materials. So here's my simple glass, and I haven't done something yet, but if I go to glass shader, and it's the color ramp I haven't brought in, so I'll go back to simple glass, scroll up a bit, Shift A, converter, color ramp. This is a gradient basically, and it helps me control the information from black to white, and so I can play around with how it sort of functions. But I will just drag that back. These are color stops, just like Photoshop or Illustrator. I will click on the black color stop, click on the black here, and let's make it gray, and we'll get a different result. I'll do a quick save, and I'll do an F12. And there is a simple render, and it works quite well. So that's how you do a simple glass shader.